What's up? This is Cool Wave. I'm going to be doing a tutorial and sound design session with GForce Oberheim OB-1, which is an emulation of the Oberheim OB-1 hardware analog synthesizer that was released in 1978. They included a lot of the original features of the hardware version, but they also add a lot to it, which I'm very happy about. OB-1 is my favorite analog synth emulation. The sound engine and the oscillators just have a lot of weight to them, and the synth feels alive, especially when you turn up the vintage knob. There are a few minor changes that I wish could be made in a future update, and I'll go over those in the video. And I'm also going to give you a 50% off coupon code for Program Volume 2, which is my preset bank for OB-1 that has 100 presets. Brief history: the Oberheim OB-1 was released in 1978. It was a monophonic synthesizer that was the first programmable synth. You could save 8 programs, also known as presets, that would memorize 33 of the knobs. The OB-1 differs from the SEM in that it has a variable wave shape going from triangle to saw instead of a fixed saw waveform. The OB-1 has a low pass filter that is switchable from 2-pole mode, which is 12 dB per octave, to 4-pole mode, which is 24 dB per octave. The low pass filter in the SEM is 2-pole, and 4-pole filters can be found in the Prophet 5, Minimoog, ARP 2600, and a lot of other synths from that era. And to my surprise, the OB-1 has 2 sub-oscillators. One sub-oscillator dedicated to each VCO, which is really cool. Some of the things that have been added to the software version is high-pass filter, chorus, delay, reverb effects, up to 16 voice polyphony, vintage knob, which is linked to several parameters such as like the oscillators, filter, envelopes, and as you turn it up, it basically varies and loosens up each of the voices and creates more drift and variance in pitch and makes it function more like a vintage synth that's not 100% calibrated. My Prophet 10 and Take 5 hardware synths both have a vintage knob. You also have a third waveform mode that the hardware does not have, which goes from saw to sine. You have a sync, which hard syncs VCO2 to VCO1. You have unison mode, which can go up to 16 voices. You have a spread knob that separates the voices across the stereo field. In addition to the LFO, you have a dedicated XLFO and XADSR for almost every knob. All of these knobs can have their own dedicated LFO and ADSR envelope. Oscillators. You have 2 VCOs that are identical except for the fact that you can modulate them with different envelopes. So you have a variable wave shape going from triangle to saw. Second mode goes from saw to sine. Third mode is pulse, with the knob controlling the pulse width. I wish these two were flipped, where you started with wide and then went to narrow. Frequency, this goes up in semitones. Up 24, down 24. You double click on any knob or slider that will return it back to its default state. You have fine tune, goes up by cents. Up 7 semitones, down 7 semitones. If you hold shift, you can go up by smaller values to dial in your settings. You have freak mod, which modulates the frequency, so you can have it assigned to the LFO or VCF envelope. For VCO2, can also modulate freak and wave mod by the LFO, but instead of the VCF, you modulate it by the VCA. I would have preferred if you could choose between using the VCA envelope or VCF for this, because most of the time I only like using the VCA envelope as a dedicated amp or volume envelope. Hard sync. In order for hard sync to work, VCO2's frequency or pitch has to be higher than VCO1's. X mod is short for cross mod. This creates a ring mod like effect or like a FM texture by modulating the 2 oscillators with each other. Unfortunately, it does not maintain pitch. This is the mixer section. So you have VCO1, dedicated sub-oscillator for VCO1. The sub-oscillators are both a fixed square shape. It cannot be changed. And the sub-oscillators both follow the pitch of the VCO they're assigned to. You have noise going from white noise to pink noise. White noise is brighter and is even across the frequency spectrum. Pink noise does not have higher frequencies. VCA on switch, what this does is when it's on, it is going to follow whatever you have your ADSR envelope set at. If it's off, no matter what you set this at, you're basically going to have your attack at 0, sustain at 100, and release at 0. Filter section, you have 2-pole and 4-pole modes. 2-pole is going to be a 12 dB per octave cut, while 4-pole is 24 dB per octave. With the same cutoff point, the 2-pole filter is going to sound brighter because it's not doing as drastic of a cut. For a quick comparison of the 2-pole versus 4-pole mode, you hear once you switch the 4-pole mode, some of the higher frequencies are rolled off a bit. Frequency knob, which is the cutoff. Resonance. The filter is self-oscillating. You have a fine-tune knob, which is not fine-tuning the pitch of anything. It is fine-tune adjustment of the cutoff point. I never use this, but in the manual it says something like this can be used to dial in like a specific sweet spot to get like more or less harmonics. Keyboard tracking. What this does, if you turn this up, any key above middle C on the keyboard that is played will slightly open the filter. The higher you go up on the keyboard, the more it's going to open the filter, and anything you play below middle C, it's going to slightly close the filter, and the lower you play on the keyboard, the more it's going to close the filter. As you see, when I turn this up, the sound gets brighter because it's opening the filter a little bit. You can modulate the filter with LFO. And you can modulate it with a VCF envelope. Envelope section. VCA envelope is the ADSR for volume attack, how long it takes after you hit a key for your sound to reach full volume. If it's at 0, once you hit a key, it's going to go to full volume instantly. Turn this up. It's going to take that much time to reach its full volume. Decay and sustain kind of play off of each other, so let's turn this all the way down. So decay is how long it takes after you hit a key for the sound go down in volume. If you have it at 0, it's going down instantly after you hit a key. If you have it at 3.2 seconds, it's going to take that much time to go down to 0. Sustain is what percentage of the original volume your sound will stay at after the decay part is over. So if your sustain's at 0, once the decay part ends, it's going to 0. If you set it all the way up, even after the decay part's over, if you continue holding down the key, it's going to play at full volume forever. Release is how much time it takes after you let go of a key for your sound go to 0 volume. If it's at 0, right after you let go of the key, sound's completely gone. Turn it up. Another thing that was added in the software version, looping envelopes. When it's off, it's not looping. When it's at retrigger, it's going to keep going through this cycle continuously, even after you let go of the key. And free means that it's just constantly running. VCF, voltage controlled filter envelope, is an envelope that is linked to modulating the filter cutoff. In the filter section, it coincides with the EMV amount knob. Turn this to 0. You're not going to hear anything. This section has the LFO, the keyboard voicing section, and the pitch bend section. By default, the sync switch is engaged. The rate of the LFO will sync to your DAW's tempo. You have sine wave, square, and sample and hold, which is kind of like random. You have a re-trigger, and what that means is the LFO will start at the beginning of its waveform cycle every time you hit a key, instead of having your LFO kick on at random points in the waveform cycle. Portamento, also known as glide. And it's polyphonic, which is awesome. The hold switch, what this does is once you hit a key, it'll basically hold that key playing. You can use this when you're trying to fine tune and dial in your sound. And that way you don't have to keep hitting the key on the keyboard. You just have your key constantly playing. You could just dial it in like that. Transpose, the hardware version has this as well, so you can go down an octave or up an octave. Aftertouch, if you right click, you can pull up all the different parameters that you can assign it to. Let's do OS1 wave mod. So it's modulating this with your aftertouch, also known as pressure, on the keyboard from a triangle to a saw. And what's cool, you can have this set to multiple things at once. Velocity, if you right click, pull up all these different things to control with velocity sensitivity. Unison, once you engage this, if you're in polyphonic mode, it will automatically go to mono mode, which means that you cannot use it polyphonically. The detune knob is going to detune each voice away from each other. You could go up to 16 voices. You can make some absolutely massive bass and lead sounds with the unison. Spread, what this does, it's going to spread each of the synth voices across the stereo field. If it's at center, any keys you hit above middle C is going to pan to the right. Any keys you play to the left, it's going to pan left in the stereo field. Which I don't like. Whenever I use spread, I always use random, and that's going to randomly pan each voice either left and right in the stereo field. It just sounds a lot more cohesive and musical doing it that way. The vintage knob is linked to several parameters of the synth: oscillators, filter, envelope, etc. The more you turn this up, it's going to add variance to each of the synth voices, pitch drift, detuning, offsetting the timing, and it gives you the feel of a vintage synthesizer that isn't calibrated. It can just really make your sound feel more alive and less static. You have your 3 voice modes: poly for polyphonic, left click and drag down with your mouse to go all the way down to 1 voice, go back up to 16. Mono mode, which is monophonic. Legato, which is also monophonic, but the difference is the LFO and envelopes will not be re-triggered as you go from one key to another. For the pitch bend section, you can choose a destination, so both VCOs, VCO2 only, VCO2 inverted. Mod, this mode will modulate both VCOs at the same time. Range is how many semitones the pitch bend will do, up or down. to 48. Something like 12 would be a good sweet spot. In this top section, you have XLFO, XADSR. When you click on a knob, you see there's these red brackets outlining it, and that means the XLFO and XADSR will be dedicated to modulating this knob. The mount knob, time knob, which is synced to your DAW by default. Delay, which is how long it takes after you hit a key for the LFO to kick in. Sample and hold, add some more randomness to it. Smoothing. What this does is it smooths the waveform out. You don't really need to use this for sine and triangle waves since they don't have those full peaks, but it's really great for taming saw and square LFO shapes. And then phase determines where in the waveform the LFO starts. Retrigger, click this to make it so the LFO retriggers every time you hit a key. You've got sine wave, triangle, ramp up, saw, ramp down, saw, square, unipolar square. So that means the LFO is only going to go in one direction. It is not going to go back and forth, which is bipolar mode. Brown noise and random. Let's say you wanted to copy these XLFO and XADSR settings to another knob like VCO2 frequency. You just hit copy, click on the knob, paste. You can also hit clear, which is going to remove those settings you applied to the knob. XADSR is an envelope that's assigned to an individual knob. You have your amp. Velocity, so how velocity plays a role in the intensity of it. Attack, decay, sustain start and sustain time, and release. High pass filter, frequency knob is your cutoff. Very noticeable that there's some type of resonance built into this, which I don't like. I wish that there was a dedicated resonance knob. You have key tracking, fine tuning, which is the same concept applied here, where you can fine tune the cutoff point. You have a selectable 2-pole, 4-pole mode. Chorus, you have a mount knob, which is your mix. Rate, which is the speed. Depth, which is the intensity. And then you have 4 modes, starting with mode 1, which is a lot more tame, going up to 4, which is a lot heavier chorus effect. Delay, you have a mount, which is your mix knob. You can adjust each of the delay time knobs individually from 1/32 all the way up to a bar. You can sync them to your DAW tempo. You can link the 2 knobs to where if you move one, it's going to move the other one along with it. You have a crossover, which turns this into a ping pong delay. You have a high pass filter knob, which is applied to the delay signal only, which I really like. Some synths do not have a dedicated high pass filter for the delay. It's really nice to roll off those really low bass frequencies. Feedback is how intense the delay is. And then you have modulation for the delay frequency, which is the speed, and depth. reverb, mix, pre-delay. That's how long after you hit a key does it take for the reverb to kick in. So if it's at 0, reverb's going to come in right away. Turn this up. There's going to be a delay. Size is the size of the reverb space. Decay is how long it takes for the reverb to fade out. Preset. Right click, there are 5 presets. These are not different algorithms, they're just presets of all the different knobs. Filter, so if you move it to the right, it's going to roll off the low frequencies of the reverb. Move it to the left, it's going to roll off the high frequencies. You have 4 macros that you can assign to one knob or multiple knobs at once. So let's assign it to the reverb. Turn this to 0. Click this plus icon, drag it over, and you see there's that green plus that shows up on the knob. Let go. Then right click and move this up however high you want, and that will be the max macro setting. Let's say for the reverb, even when you crank the knob, you don't want the reverb to be at 100% mix. You can right click and dial this back. You can also assign it to another knob as well. Top menu bar, if you click this, it'll open up the browser. Click it again, return to the synth. Click this, it'll favorite a preset. You can also open up the browser by clicking right here in the preset box. You can cycle up and down through presets with this. Click this to save a preset. You can make your own collection. You just type in a name, hit the plus, and you pick a category, type of sound, timbre, name the preset, notes, all that good stuff. And then name each of your macros. And then you can also adjust the macros here inside the preset browser. You can click this as a shortcut to open the art sequencer, then back to the keyboard. This will collapse the synth and hide the whole effects and XLFO, XADSR section if you want more of a simplified GUI. Settings, adjust oversampling and several other parameters. Just above the keyboard, you have a switch to change it to the arpeggiator sequencer screen. Move this to the left, you open up the ARP. You have your rate knob. Swing. Octave. This is how many octaves it will jump while you're playing the ARP. You have 4 different modes: up, down, up, down, random. And you click this to go into sequencer mode. And something that's pretty cool is you can drag this into your DAW and it will create a MIDI file for the sequence you created. And then you can also record into it. You have 3 modes. With key, it will play the sequencer as long as you're holding down a key or several keys. At the footer, you have a tuning fork. So that'll play a constant tone. If you want to use that to tune the synthesizer, you can choose between 430 and 450 hertz. And this only applies to standalone mode. When you're not in standalone mode, running this as a plugin, it'll automatically sync to your DAW tempo. This allows you to map MIDI CC to any of the knob sliders. And then you have undo and redo buttons, which can come in very handy. You can resize the GUI by clicking and dragging. There's a few changes that I wish could be made in a future update. It would be nice if they had a mode where there was bass compensation for the filter when you crank up the resonance, similar to what they have in Mini Monster 2. It'd be nice if you could tempo sync the rate like you can with the delay times. I would like there to be an option where the sub oscillators do not follow the pitch of the VCOs, and that way you can have them dialed in the center and you can detune the VCOs left and right. I wish you could choose from VCA envelope and VCF envelope for these, because I much rather prefer to use VCF. I wish these two were flipped, where you started with wide and then went to narrow. That's the end of the tutorial. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a sound design session, make some presets, which I'll make available for you to download for free in the description. I'm going to make a polysynth lead, so let's go to polyphonic mode. Let's go up to 12 voices. Let's make a unison bass. Let's make a pad. Let's make some bells. Let's make synth brass. Let's make a keys preset. Let's make a bass without unison. Let's make a unison lead.